In this lesson, we will learn how to create a NumPy array filled with zeros or other values. We have already seen how to create an array from a standard Python list using the array function. If we create a list filled with zeros, then the array function will create a NumPy array filled with zeros. But if we want to create a very big array, the process is quite inefficient because we first have to create a very big list. Large Python lists aren't efficient. NumPy has a better solution. It has a set of functions that can create a filled array directly and very efficiently. The first of these functions is the zeros function. It creates an array full of zeros. Another function is the ones function. It creates an array full of ones. The fill function works in a similar way, but it will fill the array with any value you want. The final function in this set is the empty function. This will create an array, but it won't initialize the memory at all. This will be slightly faster if you don't need to initialize the array. For example, if you're planning to write other data to the array before you use it. Each of these functions can create an array of any shape and rank. Each function can also create data of any type, including integers, unsigned integers, and floats of any size. Finally, each of the functions has an equivalent like function that creates an array of the same shape and type as a supplied template array. We will now look at these functions in more detail. We will look at the zeros function in a bit more detail. The zeros function creates an array containing all zeros. The data type will default to float64. Here is the code to create a zero array. We first import NumPy as np, as usual. We then call the NumPy zeros function, passing in a value 4. This creates a one-dimensional array of length 4. We print A to verify that it's an array of 4 zeros as expected. The shape of the array is 4. And the type is float64. The zeros function does exactly what we expected. Now we will try changing the shape of the array. We will create a two-dimensional array by setting the shape parameter. To create a two-dimensional array, we need to use a two-element tuple as a shape value. Here we supply tuple 3, 2, which should create an array that has 3 rows of 2 columns. This gives the expected result, a 3 by 2 array of zeros of type float64. Of course, we can create an array of any size using any number of dimensions. Next, we will change the array data type by setting the dtype parameter. Here is the code. We've added dtype as a named parameter with a value of int 8. The array then contains 8-bit integer values of 0. The ones function works in exactly the same way as the zeros function, except that it creates an array filled with ones. Here is the code and the result. Similar to the original zeros example, we've created an array of length 4 and type float64, but this time it's filled with ones. Zeros and ones are very useful, but you will sometimes need an array filled with some other value. The full function allows you to specify a different value to fill the array. In this example, the full function specifies a shape of 3 by 2 and a value of 5. The result is an array containing 3 rows of 2 columns, each set to the value of 5. You might have noticed that in this case the array has the type of int32. That is because we specified a fill value of 5 as an integer, so NumPy has created an array using the default integer type, which is int32. If we had specified a value of 5.0, a float value, the array would have had type float64. Of course, you can still set the type using the dtype parameter. The empty function works exactly like the zeros function, but instead of filling the array with zeros, it leaves the memory uninitialized. You can use this if you know that the array will be filled in some other way before it is used. There's no point filling the array with zeros if you are just going to fill it with something else straight after. Empty is a little faster than zeros. Numpy has a function called zeros-like. It takes an existing array as a template. It creates a new array with the same shape and type as the template but filled with zeros. There are similar functions called ones-like, full-like and empty-like. Here is an example. We first use the ones function to create an array A with shape 3x2 and type float64. We then use zeros-like to create a second array. We pass in array A so that the new array will have the same shape and type as before, but the new array will be filled with zeros.